Hey, what's up, guys? I wanted to pop in real quick and just do a quick video here on how Marshall McLuhan, I'm going to be reading from some of Theories of Communication, which was by Eric McLuhan and Marshall McLuhan, one of the essays, how Marshall McLuhan thinks of and uses symbolism to explore and generate insights when studying media, right? So, quick quote here. So, in 1968, McLuhan wrote an introduction to Harold Innis's The Bias of Communication. It is a remarkable performance because so much of what he says about Innis's methods applies directly to his own. For example, he notes that Innis had made the same switch from connected prose to discontinuity and probing. So Marshall McLuhan favors a kind of an aphoristic writing style like Nietzsche, as opposed to the connected prose that we're all kind of used to. And this is another kind of weapon or tool, piece of a tool that he uses in his toolkit to probe and explore media environments. Here's a quote from McLuhan on Innis's book talking about how he uses symbolism. So he says, he changed his procedure from working with a quote-unquote point of view to that of generating of insights by the method of interface, as it is named in chemistry. Interface refers to the interaction of substances and a kind of mutual irritation. In art and poetry, this is precisely the technique of symbolism. Greek, symvali, to throw together. With its paratactic procedure of juxtaposing without connectives. It is the natural form of conversation or dialogue rather than of written discourse. In writing, the tendency is to isolate an aspect of some matter and to directly steady attention upon that aspect. In dialogue, there is an equally natural interplay of multiple aspects of any matter. Interesting how he brings up symbolism here, and he remarks on the etymology of it, meaning to throw together. It's when two levels of reality come together. The inverse of symbolism seems to be diabolical, right? Diabolos. Diabolical means to throw apart or to tear apart. So the inverse of symbolism seems to be diabolical in some sense here. So I'll continue here. McLuhan had made the switch when he began to study media and environments. This interplay of aspects can generate insights or discoveries. Quote, by contrast, the point of view is merely a way of looking at something. But an insight is a sudden awareness of a complex process of interaction. An insight is a contact with the life of forms. Students of computer programming have had to learn how to approach all knowledge structurally. In order to transfer any kind of knowledge to tapes, it is necessary to understand the form of that knowledge. This has led to the discovery of the basic difference between classified knowledge and pattern recognition. It is a helpful distinction to keep in mind when reading Innis, since he is above all a recognizer of patterns. It is also the basic difference between connected, that's the end of that quote. It is also the basic difference between connected rational prose and the aphoristic style. And it is a helpful distinction to keep in mind when reading McLuhan's later prose. McLuhan's celebrated quote-unquote technique of discovery consisted in applying the symbolist art of juxtaposing forms, which everywhere leads to a series of dramatic surprises. He applied artistic methods directly to the materials and circumstances of everyday life. He discovered that the formal sensibilities of the artist could be applied outside the realm of art as the surest way to explore environments and their effects. In The Emperor's Old Clothes, he noted that the way a technology introduces into a culture can suddenly illuminate relations between things normally regarded as separate. Let me read that again. In The Emperor's Old Clothes, he noted that the way a technology introduces into a culture can suddenly illuminate relations between things normally regarded as separate. Here's a quote here. It does help to look at the... Actually, no. I'm going to move up here a little bit. And I want to read from a little bit further, maybe a couple more paragraphs. I'm going to make this a short video where he explains that his book, Understanding Media, is more of a toolkit. It's more of a resource to probe and explore media environments. And here he talks about, as the toolkit here, he says, without a theory as a guide, the explorer must rely on his box of tools, and his native wits. In 1967, McLuhan described his own method of observation this way. Here's a quote from McLuhan. Literally, understanding media is a kit of tools for analysis and perception. It is to begin an operation of discovery. It is not the completed work of discovery. It is intended for practical use. Most of my work in the media is like that of a safecracker. In the beginning, I don't know what's inside. I just set myself down in front of the problem and begin to work. I grope, I probe, I listen, I test until the tumbles fall and I'm in. That's the way I work with all these media. I'm perfectly prepared to scrap any statement I ever made on any subject once I find that it isn't getting me into the problem. I have no devotion to any of my probes as if they were sacred opinions. I have no proprietary interest in my ideas and no pride of authorship as such. You have to push any idea to an extreme. You have to probe. Exaggeration, in the sense of hyperbole, is a major artistic device in all modes of art. No painter, no musician ever did anything without extreme exaggeration in a form or a mode until he had exaggerated those qualities that interested him. And then later on, more about understanding media as a toolkit, he says, McLuhan referred to his procedure as starting with the problem and digging into the toolkit for something to open the matter up for elucidation. This is connected to his idea of and how he uses symbolism, which I think is very interesting and poignant to today here. McLuhan referred to his procedure as starting with the problem and digging into the toolkit for something to open the matter up for elucidation. Let me give you some idea of the tools that the kit held. First, the background. This is the toolkits that McLuhan had in terms of his resources, intellectual and spiritual. He says, first, as a background, a firm knowledge of the entire tradition, the translationo studi, from Homer to the present. Add to that a firm knowledge of the trivium, rhetoric, dialectic, and grammar, and an extensive knowledge of English literature, prose, and poetry, a profound knowledge of the English language, an immense vocabulary, and a deep and abiding curiosity about etymology, nourished by a knowledge of French, Latin, German, Greek, etc. Later on, he says here, the toolkit given in Understanding Media comprises the 7 general principles of media in Part 1. So these are the 7 kind of subheadings or chapters of the book, Understanding Media. And it's interesting to consider them in this vein of a toolkit, right? So the first, Part 1, is the medium environment is the message. And I have a couple videos on these chapters. Hot and cool, high and low definition. Reversal of the overheated medium. The gadget lover, hybrid energy, media as translators, challenge, and collapse. And just to finish the chapter here, here's a quote from Jacques Lucerian on The Myth of Objectivity. It's a block quote here that speaks to this theme that we're exploring. When I came across the myth of objectivity in certain modern thinkers, it made me angry. So there was only one world for these people, the same for everyone. And all the other worlds were to be counted as illusions left over from the past. Or why not call them by their name, hallucinations? I had learned to my cost how wrong they were. From my own experience, I knew very well that it was enough to take from a man a memory here, an association there, to deprive him of hearing or sight, for the world to undergo immediate transformation, and for another world entirely different but entirely coherent to be born. Another world? Not really. The same world, rather, but seen from another angle and counted in entirely new measures. When this happened, all the hierarchies they called objective were turned upside down, scattered to the 4 winds, not even like theories, but like whims. Close quote. In the last paragraph here, you can see a number of themes here that would attract McLuhan, as indeed they did. Principal among them must be the information about the senses and their effect on the imagination. Lucerian proved a goldmine of sensory data. In addition to the foregoing items, the toolkit contained a ragtag group of dozen or current working principles, processes, patterns, and procedures for which we kept constant watch. Among these were the relation of environment and anti-environment, the principle of figure and ground, or figure minus ground, formal causality, the various modes of space generated by sensory bias, visual space, acoustic space, tactile space, and so on. Reading afforded uncounted additional treasures, since his grammarian's instincts taught him not to hesitate to apply things learned in one field to solving problems in any other. Several examples from E.H. Gombrich, Art and Illusion. He got the distinction between matching and making processes. From Eric Havelock, the so essential details on the working of mimesis before and now after the onset of the alphabet. From Charles Baudelaire, the exquisite image hypocrite lecture. From Jacques Ellul, a host of things, among them that real propaganda consists of the environment in action. Again, from Jacques Ellul, a host of things, among them that real propaganda consists of the environment in action. From Elias Canetti, the dynamics of open and closed crowds. Faced with any conundrum of modern media or culture, he would bring to bear on it every one of these tools available. Few matters could long resist such an assault. How do you work if you can't use theories in your investigations? A little stethoscope, a pry bar or two, pass the gel ignite. It's the end of the chapter there. So I just wanted to pop in quickly, and if you want to get the book, I recommend it. It's Theories of Communication by Eric and Marshall McLuhan. Of course, Understanding Media is kind of the central, most popular book in the toolkit that kind of he's articulating here. Another one I just picked up here is Media and Formal Causes, Marshall McLuhan and Eric McLuhan. Just a wealth of knowledge and resources to understand what the hell is going on in the world. So love to hear what you guys think, and be with you soon. God bless.